This is To Wit, a podcast for women in life doing tech. I'm Kristi Guzman.
And I'm Melinda Smith. Ah, we're so quippy today.
I like that you just giggled at yourself before I even said it backwards.
It's so funny. I'm like, oh my God, it's so hilarious. I wonder if they'll notice. Oh my God.
So,
oh my God.
I know you always go first because you're you, and really because
Sure.
you tend to write the document. So this week, I had an experience.
This week on the Two Wit podcast. Ooh, do share.
So sometimes I feel like there's logical reasons that things happen in Salesforce, right? Like this has to be this way because of reasons. And sometimes I think there's like, today I feel like this is the way it should be, and there's no way you should be able to configure it to change it to any other way.
Yeah.
And
lock that shit down.
So I was really smart, and this is the longest story ever. So we're basically using campaigns and campaign members for meetings. And so each member status is going to be an RSVP. Yes, no, not yet answered. But ideally, we want those things in 3 separate related lists and not one. So
the responses?
Correct. So that I could see how many yes RSVPs I have instead of sorting all the members and seeing doing math. So first of all, I found a free package that let me override the standard member statuses to set them to what I want. So that was great.
Nice.
And then I found a lovely article from Ben Baloopy of a declarative solution for filtered related lists, which is perfect and exactly what I needed. Long story long, it involves 3 lookups that populate themselves via process builder. Except I was super excited that it worked in Classic. And then I went and put it in my community, and somebody along the way decided that any campaign member related list in Lightning should first show the results in a donut chart, and then when you hit view all, then you see the people in that list. So I could almost be okay with that, except for the fact that my all members and my yes and my no and my not responded all show the same donut chart. So it's not smart enough to realize that it's a subset. So they all show all members in the donut chart. So a decent amount of cussing ensued. And then I went and did some Trailhead, and I built a Visualforce page to show the related lists that I then put in a component to put on my page, and I need to style it. But it's possible, and I was really excited that I figured it out, and my coworker was really excited for me when I sent her an email that said, take that donut chart, and she brought me donuts.
Oh.
So that's the long story long.
So I love that you're always so smart and like, I'm just going to figure this the F out. I'm going to do my research. And I mean, I guess we all rely on the Googles, but you didn't just give up on the F this. I'm just going to take out the donut chart prerequisite and get rid of whatever they said.
Yeah.
Made it work.
Kind of not a choice. Although I did, was texting about it to my favorite local developer snark friend, Philip Southern. And he was like, I mean, really, it should be a Lightning component, not a Visualforce page. And I was like, don't start with I'm in no mood for aura tags right now. Leave me alone.
Don't start with me.
It is funny, though, because fortunately, my boss understands the concept of Trailhead. But as I was learning about Visualforce, one of the things they have you do is install a static resource and call it from a Visualforce page. And the package they have you put in is full of pictures of kitties. And so my boss walked up right as I was like, yeah. And I made this page work and it was a picture of a cat. So
He's like, why on earth would you need that?
yes. And and that also helped me learn or relearn that there is somebody on Twitter as Salesforce Cat. So
Yeah, you
they
made me
liked my
follow it.
post.
And I like it.
Right? Meow. Stop.
Right? Right meow.
Stop
You stop
listening
it
to
right
us
now.
and go follow it.
Right meow. If you can say meow 4
What
more
have you
times.
been learning in your job as hug manager?
I'm a hug manager. Um I learned, so as we're building this, I'm talking a lot with the sales guy that's actually pitching it. And I forget sometimes that they don't know a lot about the actual technical use of the platform.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll say something, he'll be like, "Well, that's a really good idea," and or a good point. And he always says, like, "I get it. Like, I'm not very technical. I just kind of forget because and so for so long, I've only been in an environment with people really know it or know it like 1,000 times more than me." So we were talking about, he had asked me about a couple offerings, and I was trying to put together like a menu of what we would offer in this mid-level program, kind of a menu. So I did a little crowdsourcing and posted out on Twitter to all my admin friends, like, what's the one thing that's been on your list? Because I always use you as an example. Like, you're always like, your
Oh,
list of things you wanted to do at Map Anything. Like, I wanted to do page layouts and all these cleanups, but you're like, I couldn't because freaking daily life. So I'm like, if we could be a virtual admin, or you're going to buy a chunk of hours, or anyway. So the Twitter post I put out there was like, what would you do? And I came back with a lot of the things you would expect: page layouts, report cleanups, field cleanups, but a lot of org documentation, which I just didn't anticipate because, quite honestly, I have never done it. Never, ever, 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 ever. Big, small, little, ever done it. It's just one of those things everyone wants to do and never does.
mm-hmm.
So in the midst of me thinking about that, the sales guy was like, what about if we offered end user training? Because we talked about some training on stuff that we create. Sure. I said, but any prerequisite for like a brand new admin? I said, you need to have them do the trailheads, the basic CRM, the beginner admin. So we're not explaining, like what an object is. That's a waste of everybody's time and money when that resource is already out there. So, and then he said, well, what about end user? And so at first I thought, well, no, we're not a training department. Like, we have one. And then I was like, yeah, like, train the trainer. That can be a really, like, we could have cute, not cute. That's not the right word. We can have these like cute offerings.
It's all going to be gifts.
So you can have this gift or this gift. We can have these cool offerings that are like virtual admin or cleanup, train the trainer, like those things that people need, but they don't need a whole support contract or whatnot. So we got to talking about it. And then I thought, I'm like, as I'm talking to him about it in the office today, I forget, the shit that I'm still really passionate about is stuff that I've loved since the beginning. Just the putting yourself in the admin's shoes, asking why 47 times. Why do you need 5 record types? Like, what is it you're doing here? And your end users are only as good as their training. And, opening my mouth and like saying blah, 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 and not like, having like the old school blackout. And he's like, oh, that's a really good point. I'm like, oh, look at, I like know some stuff.
Yeah.
Totes forgot I know stuff. So it's kind of exciting to work with like newbies or people that don't do what I do all the time. And you realize that as you've morphed in this career, things are awesome and some things are cool and new, but kind of your baseline of what's important to an admin or a new org is really kind of the same. Documentation, asking lots of questions, your admin. Oh my God, your admin. Think about your admin.
It is interesting because we've talked about how a lot of this role is that business analyst level. Like, I can't just teach you how to build a chair and then you're building the same chair 100 times. But now that you say that, it's kind of funny because my current role, what's kind of interesting about it is I'm back to Service Cloud being the primary
Ooh,
piece. Like, that's where I came from. And like, this company hasn't yet implemented Sales Cloud really. So it's
interesting.
mm-hmm. Hmm.
I had the whole conversation throughout the week with the new business analysts that are reporting to me about, their trajectory of their career and what's important to them. And I asked them in the Google form that I was so smart and sent I was like, I'm going to be really techie. So I sent out, give me one personal, one professional goal. What cert do you want to get next? And if you could focus on one area to be like a SME in. And I was so proud of myself. I used Google Form. I was just being cool and new and techie. And I forgot to ask the names.
Why
So I
would you
thought of trying.
track that?
I didn't even think, I think anytime I've used it, it's been, I just needed the answers. I didn't need from who. Like when we've done forms for like witness success, I don't care who, I just need to know how many people like this or like whatever.
Maybe it's like goal roulette.
It's so funny. So apparently you can actually ask or set it so it says from who, or
Yeah.
like put the damn name in.
You said it. And because
Yeah.
when I filled them out before, when it's like, this form is collecting who you are. So it tells you so you don't say my boss is an a-hole.
So I thought about
Or
being
other
crafty.
logical reasons, probably. That's probably not the one.
I mean, but isn't it? Isn't it?
Because someone at Google decided that they... No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to just get crafty because there's only 9. So I worked with my report to, or my colleague, I don't even know what, anyways, my colleague, and we kind of figured it out. But I was like, this is dumb. Just fall on your sword and tell them. So I pinged and I was like, hi, so funny story. Really appreciate your answers, but I don't know which ones are yours.
Hate to break it to you, but I'm not perfect.
So, but in that role of guiding and teaching the newbies, which is so much fun, when we talked about the stuff that they like to focus on, anybody that said sales or service cloud, there's just, I forget that there's so many cool things like service cloud. Okay, what? But then there's chatbots and there's knowledge and there's console and there's live agent and there's CTI, all this other cool integration. And I just kept feeling like old school where I like open my mouth and then things would fall out. And I was like, oh my God, I said things that are stuff and things. Anyway,
Yeah.
So I learned that.
So you learned that you already knew things, basically.
Well, and I learned that the things that are important when you start are kind of still important now. Even with all the new shiny bells and whistles, it's still important to put yourself in an admin's shoes. And I'm really, really fortunate because I was that. And that's where I started. I didn't come in as sales. I didn't come in as a consultant. I know what it's like to sit in that chair and have sales teams be like, oh, I'd rather use my Excel spreadsheet. So trying to, get people to use chatter, get people to engage and adopt. And then I've worked at a company before where everyone knows enough to be dangerous, where they're like, can you just build me a Visualforce page? Hang on. How about you just ask me what you need, not tell me how to do my job? Well, so I think it's good to know like who owns that org later is important.
Yes, but if we really live by that, then we would document.
Yeah. Org document. I'm telling you, there might be a whole thing. This might be a whole niche. I could be blowing it out of the water for Blue Whale. Who knows?
I think I literally said to my boss this week, he came out and was talking about something, and I was like, so, when you win the lottery, because we don't want you to get hit by a bus, when you win the lottery and leave, how would I know what you just said? Because it's pretty critical business functionality. And I sort of said it tongue in cheek, and he's been the only one there. So until 2 months ago, right? So, it just is really interesting because it's like, literally, this is the sales process for our process in a whole country. And he did it in a certain way because reasons, right? If, you tried 15 ways and this was the way that made the most sense or whatever, but I wouldn't know. Like, there's just certain things you can't just look at the schema builder, which no one wants to do anyway. Or I don't, it gives me anxiety. I don't know. There's context that's important. That's
Right.
more than just like, I don't want the process flow of the business requirements. That's one thing. But knowing the object structure and the fields that are important and why you did it in a flow versus a trigger or the other way around, right? Like, but I don't know. That's hard to stop and do.
Here's my argument to that. And I think this is at least what I've leaned on when it comes to org documentation is, yeah, but it changes so much. Like you have to make a conscientious effort to keep that document updated.
Yeah.
And if not, then like, you get like 2 months behind and it just goes by the wayside. I don't know. I just feel like there has to be a better way. Should it just be, hey, if you want to know what's going on, look at the fucking schema builder. If you want to know the whys, like here's my process builder org documentation. Here's the whys I did this, or here's the whys on any of my flows. But I don't know. I'm stuck between, yes, that makes sense, but it's such an evolving piece that isn't it always negate? Like, isn't it always
Well,
yesterday's news?
I guess that depends on whether you're building totally new stuff or if you. So, like, with a whole new project with new objects and new processes, I could see that. But, like, if someone's asking you to create a field on an object and you do the due diligence to determine they really do need one, then wouldn't you just go to your quip or your whatever for that object and make sure that it's not going to interfere with anything and then add it? Like, again, I think that's the excuse, is that it's daunting, and I'm not saying it's not, but if you're gonna, I don't know, what if you do one new thing without consideration for anything else, and then you have to refactor all your process builders because they're conflicting with each other, and then you forget why, and then the next time you do it again? Like, I don't know, it's just hard, and I don't have a good answer.
I know. Because then what? What is it? What's the amazing app or document that if you put in a field on this object, this thing says, hey, you already have 7
Well,
pick lists on this object. I mean, that now I'm going down this serious rabbit
well,
hole,
no.
but
So the amazing thing, okay, so have you ever sat in a session with Ian Gotts about
mm-mm.
building processes in elements.cloud? Okay, so it's really interesting because you think this is what you do, right? Of, oh, you want to do A. So that should be an object, or that should be fields on an object because reasons, and then this. But when you actually have to sit down, kind of like you took Rad Women, right? When you start and
Mhm.
you have to write out, I think our exercise was like how to make a sandwich,
Sure.
right? One of those types of things. It's harder than you think to specify all the steps without assumptions. So,
Yeah.
what the elements.cloud tool, what I'm getting at, is the goal would be that you build those decisions and charts, but they have a connector to your setup in your org. So you can also then associate processes or objects to those decision process nodes, if that makes sense. It really doesn't, probably.
What's their app called?
Elements.cloud.
Oh, just what you said. Yeah. Clearly I've
And
never used it.
that's okay. Um, it's one of those things where I know someone who loves it, and then she told me about it, and then I tell people about it, and it just spreads. And
Well, and I love Ian.
Ian
So
is lovely in general. Yeah. So we looked at that, but again, it's one of those things where it's like we've got 2 other projects happening and haven't pulled the trigger. So
he might be a good person to kind of pick his brain if that's like a product offering I want to build. Like, when people come to you, like, when did they stop and say, man, too hard? Or what are successful uh
business
is that
analysts, decision makers.
no, I'm just thinking, is that a good idea? Or is that like, hey, how do I do what you do without paying you?
Well, maybe that's the tool you use to do it. And
Sure.
that way you leave something for them to maintain. Now
Yeah,
that
because there will be maintenance. Yeah.
also, in an effort to continue to have guests with accents, he could
Oh,
be
yeah.
a really interesting episode 40 guest. Hmm.
I
He's,
do love the accents.
well, he's also like a great champion for lots of
This is
people.
true. This is very true.
And was a wonderful resource to me when I got let go in talking out my next steps and just thinking about, do I update my LinkedIn? How do I approach getting let go in this ecosystem and things like that? So thanks, Ian. You're the best. So, for a day
I
when we didn't feel like we had a lot to say, We had a lot to say today so far.
I was at work. I was in the office today. I was not most of the week because I had that fun colonoscopy because I'm old, and was out of it the last 2 days because anesthesia yesterday and the day before I had to fast.
Mm.
And I thought, well, I'll go to the office because then I'll be distracted. And I was like, no, there's food there. I was dying. That Tuesday night, I was like, I read that I could have broth. And so I had top ramen broth. And you would think that it was like the best meal I ever had. I was like, and I was like, ooh, I'll add some cayenne and a little garlic powder, like some kind of culinary delight with my broth.
What's funny is it wasn't even broth. It was ramen powder water.
I know. And a beer because it was clear liquid and whatever.
Pretty sure beer's not clear.
Look, here's the deal. If I can have
Zima?
coffee and apple juice, it was clear enough. And I read multiple websites that said they discouraged it because it could cause dehydration, but not one said no. So you know what Mama heard.
I do like that you didn't look at the information the doctor told you. You looked at
No, I didn't call and ask them because they would tell me no. Come on now.
This is like yesterday when I was trying to make a decision about which hotel to book for my personal stay in Scotland. And I was like, hey, coworker, can you reinforce my bad decisions or tell me I'm an idiot? And she's like, which way you want me to play this? And I'm like, what? And it's like, well, here's option A. And she's like, oh, yeah, just do it. I'm like, okay, that's what yep, thank you. And she's like, wait, no, was I supposed to stop you? I'm like, nope.
Nope. I'm good. You said exactly what I wanted to.
Yeah.
So I told my colleague in the office today, I'm like, I don't even know. We have nothing to talk about. I feel very out of it this week. And I was trying to catch up on witness success stuff today and do one-on-one calls and try and user group stuff. We've got a meeting coming up. I do this now, this TRO leading, and which comes with
your Twitter picture about it.
Yes, it comes with 5280 Daydreamin.
Mm.
So I felt like we didn't have anything to talk about. And then she says, and she's adorable, and shout out to Linnea if you're listening, something about listening to the podcast. And I was like, oh my God, she's listening. Like all of a sudden I felt like crazy exposed for a second. What did I say? And she mentioned something. She's like, it's the episode with the email templates. And I was like, I don't know what that means. Which hashtag is that one? So now I'm like, it's so silly. Like, of course I want people to listen, but you do feel a little exposed when you have this conversation that's you and me. And then a person over there was like, hey, I listened to you. You're like, hi.
But do you also, this is actually a good point, because if you are listening to this and we say something funny, which we might do sometimes, we're funny. Don't assume we're going to remember that we were funny or something. So I'll be honest, the lovely and talented Mike Gerholt sent a message quoting something because he listens to our podcast and is super supportive and wonderful. And I don't remember saying what he quoted, but he...
Oh, yeah?
Oh, see, it's already even last week. I'm just awful. I have no memory. But I mean, thank you.
I remember you saying that.
Oh.
I love how supportive he is. Shout out to Mike.
Hey-o. Even though he's not on his podcast anymore. It's a weird
He passed the baton.
I know. Jillian's killing it. I love it.
Jillian's killing in it.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I tried.
Okay.
I tried way too hard on that.
So if ever you say, Kristi, remember where you talked about something? And I say no, don't be upset and/or give some context of an episode number. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in all fairness, you're just not remembering your own shit. It's not like we had a meaningful conversation and they're like, I love that conversation we had and you're all, who are you? Like, it was just your own crap. Like, you don't need to remember your own crap. That's fine. I feel like that's a gimme. Like, what were my super faves last week so I don't repeat them? Like that? Okay, just kidding. Oh, I can't promise that. And I'm not going to go back and look.
No.
I'm just not.
Nope.
I mean, we have a Google Doc, but it's not in one doc, so I can't search.
That's hard.
So on this really happy note, I'm going to go ahead and take it down a notch.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the story is old, but I thought it's worth bringing up again just because it's beautiful. So there was the post going around about, and she's an Aussie, right? Her name is Holly Butcher, very young, very rare form of cancer, who was kind of her open letter to the world about like the stupid shit doesn't matter. None of that will matter in the end. And
actually, I don't even see a date on this.
I feel like it was within a year. I think it says it in the beginning that
Just says that she finally died. But anyway,
she died on
I,
Thursday. I feel like it was within the year. So it's a beautiful letter. And I think it's a wonderful note to remember how to live your life. She talks about giving back, which I think that you and I've talked about, and we both know that giving back is so critical. I still haven't found the path yet or the nonprofit. I did a little work with Pep Up Tech, and I'm trying to decide if that's something I want to start here, if I want to do the women in transition here. I think the sweet, sweet woman that invited me to be part of it in Long Beach, she still reaches out to me and still talks about me being on the board, which I find very kind, but I was like, I don't think it's necessary. Like, you can just shoo me off there. But I do still want to figure out a way to give back. But in order to not be too much of a downer, I think it's good to remember the criticality of what's important. So on Saturday was the 3-year anniversary of my stepdad passing. And you know how important he was to me. He was the most stable man in my life, from like the stepdad I grew up with, he was actually a pathological liar. We didn't know till much, much later.
mm,
My dad was an alcoholic my whole life. So this man came into my life when I was about 17 and was just the smartest, most stable man ever. And then, he got cancer and died within a year. So it's been 3 years, and when about this time rolls around, you do kind of check yourself and remember what's important. Like, family's important. Like, don't stress out about the morning workout. Yes, take care of yourself, but like, don't freak the fuck out that, oh, I didn't get my workout in. Or, yes, my kid gets on my nerves, but every once in a while I try and tell myself, just chill out, take a breath, and let her be silly. Like, these are the important times. So I think that you quoted it, or you highlighted the quote, and I thought it was good for a lot of the toxic social media too, is she says in there, while on this topic of reminding what's important, delete any account that pops up on your news feed that gives you any sense of feeling shit about yourself. Friend or not, be ruthless for your own well-being. And it's freaking true. Like, I had this situation where I didn't want to interact with someone out there anymore. So I kind of cut that communication off for various reasons. And then I spent a good portion of the day thinking about how I would explain myself if it were to come up. And then I thought, fucking time out. I don't have to. I don't owe anything to anybody. I've made decisions that are good for my well-being, but I have such a habit of being a people pleaser, and maybe not in the sense that I want everyone to love me, but in the sense that I never want to be thought of ill, which is so weird. Which why, like, this is so silly and kind of an offshoot. But when I was young and dating, I always wanted to be the girl that got super mad and like keyed your card or like swore at you, blah, like all of these really outrageous, amazing acts.
yeah.
But instead, I would always be quiet because I just really hoped that they would reflect upon me fondly later. Fucking why? Why? Like, who fucking cares? So I try and, like, in that moment when I was like, okay, if this comes up, I'll just say, like, I've got a lot going on or something. And I thought, stop. You don't have to acknowledge it all. There's not going to be a situation where that will come up. And if it does, you don't have to answer. And this person doesn't have to like you. It's okay.
Yeah.
And just rereading this letter, like, that's not what's important.
It's interesting because I think one of the reasons that things like this are good is because I think it resonates differently with you at different points. Like, for example, there's something here about use your money on experiences, or at least don't miss out on experiences because you spent on your money on material shit.
Right.
Not that I don't buy material shit. Like, I will wander around to Home Goods like a champ. But I'm taking vacation to go to London's Calling. And somebody asked me about it. And it's like, well, I have friends there that will be at the event. And it's my 35th birthday. And I'm going to go to Scotland. Like, like, it just made sense to me. And obviously I'm going to be somewhat practical and not just throw money at everything. But, like, I make money. I can go on a vacation, like, and not have to, like, that's
well, and that shit matters. Coming home with your your emotional bank account full is awesome. Like you said, like, yeah, home goods is fun. I like a sequin pillow that is one color one way and one the
Oh my
next.
gosh.
Hell yeah, I do. But I mean, there was a time before being married that I spent all my money on travel. I either spent anything I put in savings, or I would have a girlfriend put on a credit card and I would pay her back like the rest of the fucking year. And I just traveled all the time and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I cashed out a 401k working. Oh my God. I mean, of course, now you think, what a dumb move. But I worked at JP Morgan, late 20s, making far too much money during the refi boom and living at home. And I just quit and went to cashed out my 401k and left for Europe by myself. And at the time, I remember my stepdad giving me the side eye, like, and this man was so fucking smart, like just so smart financially too. And like when it comes to the market, he did give the side eye, like you're already on a really great financial strategic path. Are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, yeah. And it did feel like a pang. I never want to disappoint him, like
Mm.
of anybody, but I did it anyways because I'm me. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. And even him and my mom were, again, are you sure? And now my mom will tell the story of how like important it was for my life experience.
Yeah, but
And I'd do it again.
I think it's funny because I think you, like I say, different things resonate about this letter with you at different times, right? Like,
Totally.
um, because we've talked before about don't feel pressure to do what other people think is a fulfilling life. You might want a mediocre life, and that is so
Yes.
okay,
So
you
okay.
know? And so again, I think like every time I read it, something different kind of sticks out to me as a good reminder. Um, so we'll link to it. I mean, of course, you can think about it being sad, but I think it's, I don't know, I think
It's
it's,
a good reminder.
yeah,
It's a good reminder to value the important things because we do get caught up in a lot of other things. And there is still day to day. A lot of us aren't going to die tomorrow, so you still got to make the money and pay the rent and do the thing.
right. And things,
But
yeah. And that's not to say that like nothing else is important,
right.
but like, yeah, don't just like be an asshole. Um, but
I mean, unless that's your jam, right?
right. And then like good for you, I guess. But I don't know. But like, yeah, like you say, protect yourself a bit. And
It's hard because there's part of you that's like, fuck it all, I can't take it with me. But then there's another part that's like, well, let's not be the dumbass that's like, well, I hope my social security comes through so I can eat. Like I don't want to be that either. But I was listening to one of these things with the infamous crew. Anyways, they were interviewing, oh my god, I'm gonna get his name wrong. He
ooh,
just moved from
Mark
dot
Basement.
thank you .org to .com, and they were talking about the fire, the financial. Wow, I'm blowing it. I really should have written this down. This is impromptu. Anyways, sorry to all of them. But they were talking about retirement, and Mark was like, hey, I just want to acknowledge, the privilege it is to talk about. I hope I am enough to retire with, when a lot of people can't even make ends meet. And even though I conceptually know that, it was kind of good to hear, on the sense that, yes, you want to make sure. I do want to plan. I want to have a 401k. I want to leave my kiddo something, just so she has just a little nugget, even if it's just a little something to get a home. Like, Al's unfortunate passing helped us, put money down on a home. I don't know where I would have come up with that. I probably would have made it work, but it was his lovely gift. So, but it is worth acknowledging that there are plenty of people that will work until they can't work, and then hope to God that Social Security puts money or food on their plate.
I don't know. It's tough because, and this is kind of a segue into the other thing I had put on this list. So, on one hand, I feel like it is important to remember that there are other people in other situations and to do things for other people. But on the other hand, like, there's so much stuff to worry about all the time at the same time. Like, should I feel guilty that I don't think about those other things? Like that I don't stop every time I have to think about my, like, is it okay for me to have my first world problems? when there are people out there living hand to mouth, or that,
Right. I
like,
think it's okay to balance both. It's okay to be like, yeah, I am in a position where I am able to think about retirement and make sure that's there. Yay. Yay. And I'm happy that I'm in that position. But, it's also worth saying, and maybe next month I can go volunteer a couple hours at the soup kitchen, just kind of keeping it in check. And it's okay to say, fuck, I ordered purple pillows and they brought me lavender. Like, yes, it's a first world problem, but it's okay to acknowledge that.
right.
If you just also roll in a little bit of, holy shit, that dog is in the middle of the street. I'm going to stop my car and go make sure the doggy gets home safe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess I was thinking about this today from a bit of a different angle, in that we had a webinar that connected the MVPs with some people on the Lightning product team.
I was there.
You were there.
I was there. Sold you for a case of beer. I'm sorry, go on.
Were you also on Slack at the same time? Multitasking?
Oh, no, I don't have the app on my work computer, and I
Mhm.
didn't bring my work computer because I get too distracted by Slack, for instance.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, and I, again, have a horrible memory. Can't remember how much we've talked about this. Um, I try to remember that MVPs are kind of like the 5%, right? So, like, we are, if we're not using Lightning, it's because reasons, right? Like, it's not because we don't know, it's not because we just don't want to, right? Like, we've at least thought about it. And I think it's hard sometimes to think about Salesforce as this huge company that maybe made a decision that I don't agree with, and like,
How dare they?
or like maybe they asked my opinion and then didn't do what I suggested.
How dare they?
Um, so I don't know. It's interesting of this. So what happened is, with the spring release, which has rolled out to some people, they had this modal pop up, and it was supposed to be if you're a user that was enabled for Lightning, but you weren't in Lightning. And it was basically like, hey, why aren't you in Lightning? And it's interesting because I don't think they reach out to end users all that much. So it feels like you are protecting your little chickies in your little nest, right? And like, so a part of it is like, don't talk to my chickies. Like, talk to me and I talk to my chickies. Um,
Totally.
but also, of course, was a challenge because the message showed to many more people than they planned it to. And also, I think the logic of you're enabled for Lightning and you're not in Lightning, and that's something that we should ask you about, is potentially flawed, because you've got orgs that aren't run by MVPs or aren't run by swagaholics and nerdy admins. Maybe you have people on standard profiles where things have been enabled, or maybe you have someone who doesn't have a sandbox like Kristi 10 years ago and just enabled shit to play with it
What's a sandbox?
before Trailhead, right? Before all the stuff. So
Totally.
I don't know. It just was really interesting though, of there's so much passion, which is great. And I love it. And I love the opportunity and the fact that they will listen to our feedback
Totally.
and are
I
talking
agree.
about choices of things they want to do, and all that's great. But um I don't know. I don't, maybe I just haven't experienced this with other types of things in life. But sometimes I just want to be like, guys, this is so much bigger than I can even contemplate. Like, any day that I think that I'm getting a lot of emails, like, think about Parker Harris, like, or even not even that level, like, how much stuff is happening. I don't know. It's just on a scale of turning the Titanic, like, yeah, they're gonna fuck stuff up sometimes. And there's there are people on this planet who have not heard of Lightning or Trailhead or something Salesforcey. Maybe they just legit don't know because They're just...
If you say that they haven't heard of Trailhead or this podcast, you would be re-quoting yourself.
I know. According to Mike Gerholt, that's true.
Well, and according to facts and records.
So maybe I have already known and talked about this. But today it was just really interesting because I feel like it's easy for passion to get negative and
Totally
judgy. And I think it's hard to remember that not everyone is me, and I need to think about other people's experiences as well. You know?
Totally. I 100% agree.
So, there you go. Even MVPs are perfect.
Whoa. All right, that's enough.
Okay.
Seriously.
Stop.
That's about enough of that shit.
Hopefully you nominated some if there's people in your life.
I did. And I waited literally until the 11th hour because I had my list and I just didn't get to it. And then I saw the new interface and was like, hard, which is actually way easier. It's so silly.
Hard.
I was like, and then I had a moment where I had my Post-it note that I'd written it like the other week. Then I couldn't find my Post-it note. And I was like, oh, fuck, I can't do it right now. I need my Post-it note. I don't want to just like drum it up in my head. I have a Post-it note for my reasons.
I have a post. I love you because I love Post-it notes.
Post-it notes are the best. But with you going to London's Calling, does that mean you're not going to come to Trailhead DX?
That is a true fact.
Ugh, hurts my heart. Oh, fun story though. So, new role, new position, new report too. Bring up Trailhead DX. I was like, I am going to go. This is what I'm doing. Would really love to take one of the business analysts. I think it'd be a great opportunity, maybe run a contest, maybe for performance, blah, blah, blah. And I'm learning with my new report too that stuff sits and marinates with him. So sometimes you feel like, oh, yeah, that's cool. You're like, oh, they didn't care. But he's one of those high level executives that hears you and then like digests it later.
Okay.
Like I almost tried to relate it to an animal and nothing came to mind besides a cow because they have 3 stomachs and that's not at all in me here. Anyways, so in some context, I'm not even sure how it happened. Not only is he all on board, so there's a few managers under him that were like, go ahead and nominate as many people as you want under you to go.
Hey.
However many you want. And we'll go too. So
you're going to have a little Blue Wolf party.
I'm so excited. And, Miss Kyla Longy, my witness success wifey, was kind enough to offer her floor or couch, whatever. Because I'm like, well, I wasn't sure if I was going to go. I didn't know if I want to spend the money there because I'm still trying to make that Europe trip happen. And but now they're going to take care of it. So I booked a room and booked my flight.
Hopefully a different room than you booked for Dreamforce.
I know that's what Nikki said.
I never gonna live.
It's at Park 55.
Never gonna live that down. No, I am not. Miss Kelly Bentubo is going because she keeps asking me if I'm going to go too. I went for year 1 and it's my favorite backpack. And
backpack.
I have heard good things. I just lost my train of thought too. So,
well, I am excited. I'm excited I get to stay in a hotel.
Back to San Francisco you go.
Yeah. I have made it was unconscious at first, but more conscious now to scale down a little this year, only because things have been so go. So it just kind of made an effort. Like I had other stuff going on, but I didn't make it to Tahoe and I don't have any other things planned except for Witness.
Can I just make a quick pedantic comment?
Always.
Isn't it more subconscious and not unconscious? Like you're not unconscious while you're deciding it. Like you might like I hope not.
First of all, you don't know. Second of all, I think you're right. And it's not pedantic.
I think that's often wrong and for some reason that's one of those things that bothers me that's in a similar vein. Like I'll ping him about it bothers me. Like computers ping each other. Humans can reach out or call or text.
So you don't ping me? I don't ping you?
No, you message me on 5 different channels.
All of the channels.
Right. We send Instagram messages.
Anyways, the point is I'm going to Trailhead and the company's paying.
Oh, that's wonderful. And
For
I'm
derailing
not.
from my unconscious. Well, and I have a hard time saying it. Unconscious, unconscious, unconscious,
How
unconscious,
about subconscious?
subconscious,
Hey,
subconscious,
see that? Well, now
subconscious.
you just when anytime you say it 15 times, it sounds ridiculous.
Well, there's conscience and
What
conscious.
I will say is, I was talking to, why do I want to call everyone the lovely and talented? I don't know why. The lovely and talented Sean Holmes today about Surf Force, and
Ooh,
they're looking at dates, and I was excited, except for the fact that I was like, it's real close to Witness Success and 5280, and I'm kind of excited to meet the rest of the Smith family. So
yeah.
that's happening for July. Like there's really no question. P.S.
Oh,
If you're my
so
boss and you're
hard.
listening to
I
this,
mean, if
I'm
we
going to
just,
Denver in July.
I hope I would. Uh,
Well, I hope you're going. Yeah.
what? No, no, I'm going. Real quick before our super faves, let's plug it up since we're already talking about it. Southeast Dreamin', give me the dates.
March 15th and 16th. We are
Beware the Ides of
we are
March.
still
That was terrible. I'm sorry, Lauren. I'm so sorry. It was terrible.
Wait, but the why that's not Irish. The Ides of March?
Well,
Isn't it
the
from
way I was saying
Caesar?
it,
Oh, okay. It
yeah,
was
it's from Caesar, but I just got all weird and made it dumb and stupid. And I hope she still loves me and all the Irish community. I'm sorry
well,
for all of that. Anyways, 15th through 18th, Atlanta.
nope. 15th and 16th. It's only 2 days. It's
Sure.
in Buckhead. We're still looking for sponsors. We just announced our speakers, so our agenda's going up,
Ooh,
and it's like a month away. It's happening.
Jesus, it really is.
What's a secret thing we haven't talked about yet that people might
Literally everything we talked about in the last 10
hear
minutes.
first? Um,
Oh, for you.
yeah, for
Sorry.
the event, I meant. Um, I don't know. I can't think of anything, but we are not gonna get the Pardot puppies, and I'm sort of sad about it.
Oh,
I know.
I love puppies. I want to talk so bad.
I know. Okay.
I have clearly have enough time behind me that I have forgotten what it's like to comb up, sweep up dog hair, and pick up dog shit and vomit because I just look at Axel's little face when you and I FaceTime and I was like, I just want puppy fur and puppy breath and oh wait, I'll
No,
roll this into the
you
super fave,
visit
but
puppies. You don't get a puppy. You get a
huh?
used dog that's not a puppy that won't shit on your floor.
I've never had a puppy though ever in my
I got him
life.
when he was a year old, and he still chewed up a little bit, but
He's such a good boy.
I know. But
He's the
he
greatest boy ever.
and he was probably a really cute puppy, and I really would have loved him as a puppy, but I didn't know him then. In my mind, I don't know. I don't want a puppy.
I dog digress. I dogress. so I digress. So after there's some other events, but since we're talking our own shameless plugs, 5280 Daydreamin. Now that I am a Denver user group leader, it is a day event. It's kind of like Joanna likes to call it kind of a TED Talk, or I like to call it too like a user group meeting with keynotes. So Peter Coffey is coming as well. He's already locked in. That's on the Thursday, July 26th, I believe. Am I saying that right? 26th. And then Witness Success is the 27th, the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
We do have the Pep Up Brunch, Pep Up Tech Brunch on that Saturday. I'm going to organize some kind of events or stuff that people can do if they want on Saturday and Sunday, if it's hiking or breweries or distilleries, walking tour, rooftop pools, reservoirs, paddleboarding. And then I believe that Monday is when the nonprofit sprint pops in.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And that's sprint 2. And then I spoke with Jace the other week, which was it last week? Man, the days run together. And I haven't even filled you in. But he and I talked about having a guest to kind of talk about the sprints. And we were really excited about building the bridging the gap, tearing down the wall between .org and .com, because there's a lot of stuff out there that I don't know that I would love to, and just kind of creating this this beautiful relationship. And then same with Witness Success. We're still looking for sponsors. We're about to, I think a handful of weeks, we'll open up a call for speakers, maybe even a month or so. And we are working with the Amplify team to bring in some nonprofit and, bring in just more inclusion and diversity than we did last year. And it's going to be awesome. And shameless plug for both of us.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Awesome.
I also heard a little bird that there's even more dreaming events starting to happen. So if you're listening to us and you're like, these things are far away from me, there's probably one that's sort of near you. Or there might be one. Or maybe you could start one if you know how to plan events, kind of, at least a little bit.
It's hard, but it's rewarding.
But I digress.
Really funny to me. Yep, that's the title of the episode. Digress.
Oh man, what's your favorite thing you thought of when you had to realize that you needed to come up with some super faves?
How do you spell digress?
Digress is typically Digress.
Really? Oh shoot, man! I cannot spell for shit anymore. Digress. Anyways, super fave number 1, and this is hey Bertuzzi, pay attention.
Hey!
There is something called the Impossible Burger.
Okay.
They serve it at Hop Dottie. Hop Dottie is a chain. I think they have it in Texas. I think there's one in Scottsdale too. Burger beer place. And it is a plant-based burger that really tastes amazing. Now, I've had black bean burgers. They taste like black bean. They taste like they're intended. But this just tastes like a good burger. I had like lettuce, tomato, avocado, and it is delicious.
Where did you have it?
Plant-based. Hop Dottie.
What?
HOPDODDY. Denver.
Oh.
Had it for dinner before we spoke.
Interesting.
So
might be in Texas in June for Texas Street and to visit my family. So you perked me up when you said Texas, except I eat meat. So.
It's good. Yeah, I was like, if you're going for a burger and you have the Impossible Burger, no, this is not what you want. You'll be let down. But if you are on a plant-based lifestyle, it's delicious. It's so good. I love it.
I thought you were talking about Bertuzzi earlier in finance, and I was like, but of course, because he's like, I wish I could just hire him to manage all my money in my life. But then you went burger. So
this is also known as the Bertuzzi episode.
But I digress. You would appreciate the digress as well. So today I went to get my car inspected, and then I had a call. I was working from home, but I couldn't make it home. So I went to a coffee shop, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to like an independent little coffee shop. And then I realized that the coffee shop is inside the bottle shop. Therefore...
Wait, you've talked about the bottle shop, right?
I don't think so. It's a place called Good Bottle. I might have... There's other ones here, too. But it's this place, Hex Coffee, and it's inside Good Bottle. So I had tea during my call, and then I bought a 6-pack, and... I was able to mix and match. So I got some sours and some gozas for myself. And I'm just, preparing my liver for London's Calling.
Oh, I'm
but I thought that was a good multitasking adventure. And I think it's an interesting business use case, right? Like, no one's going to go to a bottle shop to have a beer in the morning. And then a coffee shop is probably sort of empty in the evening. So let's put them together.
It's smart.
Somebody thought of that.
Well, and somebody is smart, and somebody's making way more money than you and I.
Touche.
Or not. They are an independent business owner and are like, oh God, I got to pay everybody's payroll this month.
I also had a delicious cheddar scallion scone.
Cheddar scallion scone. That's just fun to say. Cheddar scallion scone. Scallion scone.
What accent is that you're working on?
Scallion scone. Just bad. I digress.
Oh man, if you're still with us right now, I just love you so much.
Thank you. I know. It means you actually love us. So one of the 7 people that truly love us and to listen.
Everyone else.
Barry's already dropped off. Barry's like, screw this.
No, but they're starting a podcast, right? So I mean, he's gonna have to.
Ohana Coffee to Go.
He's gonna have to accept that sometimes you just get a little wackadoodle.
I'm so excited.
Maybe
More podcasts.
But maybe like the third time we say digress, people are going to be like, F this noise, I'm done.
No, it's almost like you can't give up now. There's like a minute and a half left.
So
My next super fave is the white noise app. And here is why. Because I am a grown ass woman that is now afraid of sounds in my house when my husband's not here.
Aw.
I know. I don't have a dog anymore. Yeah. And when my dog was around, he made me feel safe. And it's still a new neighborhood. I mean, I know my neighbors. Here's the deal. Getting married made me a wussy. It was a lot stronger and a lot like I have an exit strategy. I just throw myself through that window. Anyway, so now I can't just throw myself through a window. I have to go get the human in the other room and make sure we're both through the window. So anyways, I get a little spooked because when he's home, I wear the earplugs because he's the snorer and everything's fine. So when he's not home, I don't. And I hear all the sounds I don't typically hear. So I tried the white noise app and it helps. It does soothe you.
What's interesting is why wouldn't you just wear the earplugs when he's not there?
Because I have to be able to hear the child.
Oh.
In case she's crying or there's a robber.
Great question asked by not a parent.
But I'm telling you though, I can wear my earplugs and hear her. Like you're pretty spot on.
Okay.
I could hear her whimper with earplugs, and they're not called ear masks. The things that go over your head. Ear mask, you know what I mean? Earphones. The
headphones.
Noise. Oh. Thank you. Noise canceling headphones.
The ones you're wearing right now?
So between the fact that I can't spell digress, I try to spell it digress. Hey, have you seen my digress? And I can't say headphones. I might be closing in on an end here. Your last super fave.
In an odd segue that was unintended about you talking about jumping out windows.
Oh.
I
know.
What's really funny to me is, unless you live in a social media hole, you've heard about This Is Us and The Fire, and after the Super Bowl, they told you what happened finally. But what's so funny is there was a Super Bowl ad about the character that plays Jack, which it's not really a spoiler alert that he died. Like, you've known since a long time ago that he died.
I don't even watch the show and I knew
it was information about how he died. But the fire that resulted on the show was caused by an 18-year-old temperamental crockpot.
Wasn't it called something else then in the 80s, 70s, 80s?
No.
Was it called crockpot? I thought it was like, it doesn't matter. Go on.
Well, there was, I think pressure cookers are more, but they're back. Everything comes back. But what's so funny, he did a Super Bowl ad about basically accepting others and forgiveness. And in the end, he eats chili out of a crock pot. And it says, #crockpot is innocent. And I think it's so funny because people literally were like, I'm throwing away my crock pot right now. And it's like, oh my God, it's a show.
Well, and he did a whole thing. I think there was like a Facebook or Twitter where he reads some of the saddest tweets and he says, look, they were super faulty back then. And this is a fictional character in a fictional show.
Well, and when they got it from an old man re-gifted to them, he said it was already faulty. And then they had it for 18 years. So come on.
I watched the end of it. I don't watch the show, but I watched the end, the fire scene and the hospital scene because it was crushing and demolishing.
Because you needed to cry that day?
Look, I am the person that will watch episodes 1, 2, maybe half of 3, maybe 7, and then the last of Netflix and call it watched. All of it. I watched Californication in one evening. There's 75 seasons. I watched season 1, 2. I watched one from each season and then the last. And I was like, oh my God, they got back together. Yay.
Oh, spoiler alert. Just kidding.
I think I just went way far from my mic. Sorry, y'all. But yeah, it was sad. I don't even watch the show. And I watched that. It was like, oh, that's so sad.
It was a lot of I think we talked about when I was homesick and I watched the previous episode, which made me cry, and then I randomly watched some Ryan Reynolds movie that made me cry, and I'm like, I have a sore throat. This is awful.
I can't do this.
I need to just avoid the TV. Um, so what's really my favorite thing about this episode is that we're both sober. Like we
Whoa.
make this much
And
sense.
we're not even interviewing Tony Profit. No, don't let them know that I can't spell sober. Come on.
What?
That I can't spell. I can't spell
Oh, I
digress.
thought
I
you
don't
meant
know
you
what
can't. I thought you meant
ear
you.
masks are.
I thought you meant you can't spell the word sober.
I mean,
I
that's
was like,
fair.
I mean,
That's a fair assessment.
I'm like, I didn't say that you can't spell the word sober. So anyway, I
I
just,
had a beer at dinner. Does that count?
I mean,
That was it. Like, so even though it was dinner, it was actually supper because I picked up Josh to go pick up our girl at school at like, 3:45. And I was like, and then I want to go to dinner. And he was like, babe, that's like supper. And I was like, but I've been craving this Impossible Burger for so long. So I made him go to supper.
eat
So we had
with
dinner at like
me.
4:30.
That's how marriage works, right? Sometimes,
Yep. We had supper and it was amazing.
yeah. See, and then now you can go have fourth meal.
Yeah. Or bed.
Yes,
It's late.
it's.
Yes.
I'm so old. Not really.
Me too. No.
Um. So we just, we digressed all over the place, but hopefully you enjoyed it and stay witty.
Boo boo. Bye.